one of the theories floating around out there that I think makes the most sense is that the Republican Party, one of the things that binds them together, regardless of what their class position is or whether they've been college educated or non-college educated. I want to say what race they are, but I mean, we know when we're talking about Republicans, at least 9 out of 10 of them are going to be white people. The one thing that binds them together is a disdain for immigrants. And we know it's not just undocumented immigrants because we see the Trump administration going after people who are here legally. And not just, citizens, but people here because their country suffered an earthquake or a civil war, and we have allowed them in for an extended period of time, and they have made homes here, and they have made friends here, and had kids here, et cetera, et cetera. Same, of course, with the DACA kids. But I think it's a very rational thing to assume this is what's going to bind the Republican Party together. Now, let's talk about what's binding the Democratic Party together. We have a couple of different sort of like little dramas going on. One is about a month or two ago, Ilhan Omar was attacked by the right, but then some figures on the left, I'm thinking Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, they go to AIPAC. They open the door to some of these right-wing attacks, if you ask my opinion of it. As a Jew, I listened to what Ilhan Omar saying. She was talking specifically about the requirement in 26 states across the country that if you do business with the state, if you're a state contractor, if you're providing speech therapy in a classroom for kids, if you're building a highway or whatnot, you've got to sign a pledge to not be involved with the boycott and divestiture movement against Israel. Now, you don't have to agree with that to know that, like, hey, you don't have to agree with the protest against Israel to know that the idea that a state would require you to sign a pledge that you're not going to protest a specific country seems bizarre to me. And when Ilhan Omar was talking about this, there was Marco Rubio had sponsored a federal bill to do the same thing. It was bizarre. And so when she talked about, I don't have to pledge allegiance to another country, that was twisted into some accusation that she was saying that Jewish people had a dual allegiance to America, which, of course, is an anti-Semitic trope. But that's not what she said. She was talking about something very concrete and real that I don't think most people realize exist. But Steny Hoyer, Chuck Schumer, they go to AIPAC. They sort of like enhance these this false smear against her. Nancy Pelosi tries to have a resolution to that ostensibly was aimed towards her, ostensibly to condemn anti-Semitism. There was enough pushback that didn't happen, but it opened this door where Donald Trump is attacking her. It's I think a threefer for him: a woman of color, a former immigrant. I mean, it's all there, and a Muslim, so a fourfer, if you will. So we have that little playlet going on. We have this thing where Bernie Sanders and the Center for American Progress are going at each other based upon a video that was put out by Think Progress, ostensibly not, independently or, editorially independent from Center for American Progress, smearing or attempting to smear Sanders in some way, or, sort of very ham-fisted, not terribly nuanced criticism, which you would not expect from the left. It was sort of akin to, how can you be for poor people when you have an iPhone type of thing? And then we also have Nancy Pelosi, her chief advisors going around saying no Medicare for all, and she's sort of like poo-pooing some of the most popular Democrats in the country. I'm talking about AOC and Katie Porter and Ilhan Omar. There's only 5 of them, she says, in Tlaib. What do you make of all this? I mean, is this just like classic Democratic, infighting, or are we at a point where something different?
I don't know if it's going to end up being something different, but it's not surprising to me that this is happening. It's a big coalition now, whenever you have, a majority, and it's a pretty good-sized majority in the House, which is the most representative body. there's a big coalition there. There are new Dems and blue dogs. There are the progressive wing. There's the establishment leadership and all of these things. People are jockeying for power within that coalition, and it's normal. And in fact, it's pretty healthy that you have that. I mean, I don't see anything particularly wrong with that. And we're going into a presidential election where those factions are also playing out in the presidential. And when you talk about, I mean, I think the Sanders Center for American Progress flap is probably the best sort of example of how that part of it is playing out, the jockeying for power, both sides. And Sanders is running for president, and he's running hard. I mean, I think he definitely wants to win, and he understands that he has a very powerful bit of leverage with this very excited and devoted following that he has. It's a lot of people within the Democratic Party. It's not a majority, but it's a very strong faction, and it's a very dedicated faction, and he will have more than enough money to run, and he will also, they're very vocal and active. So, I mean, he's using that, and in fact, when he responded to the CAP, the Center for American Progress video, which was the origin of this particular argument, and it was a video that was critical of him for not saying that the word millionaire anymore. He only says billionaires because he is a millionaire. It was a ridiculous video, completely absurd, never should have been done. But it was a fairly petty thing. But Sanders, I think, and his people, not and his strategists, I think, understood that this was a moment that he could leverage very, very successfully against the political establishment. He's running as an outsider. And so they went for it, and they're raising money off of it, and they've made a very, the CAP, Neera Tanden, the head of Center for American Progress, she apologized or distanced herself in any way from the whole thing. But nonetheless, I think there's that is a strategic decision on Sanders' part. You work the refs, you use the leverage that you have, and this is a way of kind of tamping down a certain kind of criticism, and also just showing, hey, don't mess with me. I've got some strength here, and I'm going to use it. So I think that was a strategic decision on his part. As for the Ilhan Omar thing, this is a combination, in my view, of just rank cowardice on the part of the Democrats, right, and unwillingness to see this for what it is, and it's just straight off, racist, demagoguery as far as I'm concerned, and especially once the president took it up, and he's basically calling her unpatriotic. And the fact that the Democrats haven't taken the bull by the horns on that is just it's
crazy to me. All right, we got to take a break. Let's talk more about that when we come back, and let's talk about how healthcare is implicated in this. I also want to just touch on the Bernie Sanders town hall on Fox and the prospect of other Democrats now who have all announced that they're going on to Fox, and what the implications are of that. We got to take a quick break. I'm Sam Seder. This is Ring of Fire Radio. I'm talking to the great Digby. We'll be right back.